The golden age of American Jews is ending. That was the title of a popular essay written by Franklin Foer in The Atlantic. In it, Foer writes, "Anti-Semitism on the right and the left threatens to bring to a close an unprecedented period of safety and prosperity for Jewish Americans and demolish the liberal order they helped establish." I've read this statement over and over again, and here's what I think. I don't buy it. Neither do the past presidents of Penn, Harvard, Cornell, and Columbia. For if the golden age of American Jews was really over, they would still have a job. Consider this. Look how many people are watching Netflix's trendiest show about a good-looking rabbi and his newfound love. It's become the most talked about show among our community since Shtisel. More about that another time. Watch for the Zoom talkback. Yes, there is anti-Semitism, but it will not destroy our safety and well-being, for we belong here. In the golden age, we belong here. The golden age developed after years of discrimination, when we couldn't live north of 5th Street in South Beach, and the only law firms where Jews could work were Jewish firms. My confidence in the future and my understanding of the world around me grew out of the time and place in which I was born, like many of you, in the golden age of American Jews. There we established ourselves in the arts, business, government, and we enjoyed unprecedented social acceptance. We learned, we dated, we married, and we worked nearly wherever and with whomever we chose. There were few barriers to being an American Jew or Jewish American. You could choose either identity. The question is that still true today? Over the past few months, I spent a lot of time thinking about my foundational beliefs and what it means to be a Jew in America today, post-October 7th. I have friends who are getting citizenship in other countries, just in case. They used to think they could go to Israel. Now they are getting citizenship in Spain, Germany, Austria, even though they know the history of what happened to Jewish communities in those countries following the end of their golden age. On this Yom Kippur, we resolve to continue to be the authors of the golden age of Jews in America. When Eastern European Jews came to this country in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, they had a saying they used to say in Yiddish: "What's not good for America is also not good for the Jews. What's not good for the Jews is also not good for America." And on the positive side, what's good for America is good for the Jews. What's good for the Jews is good for America. Jews going back to revolutionary times understood there was a different country being built, a place where Jews might be able to thrive. When George Washington was inaugurated in 1789, the minority communities in the country sent him letters of congratulations. The Jewish population of that time was about 1,000 Jews, maybe even fewer than the number of people sitting here tonight. But even back then, they couldn't agree on what to say, so they wrote 3 different letters. In their letter to Washington, the Savannah Jewish community wrote, "Your unexampled liberality and extensive philanthropy have dispelled that cloud of bigotry and superstition, enfranchised us with all the privileges and immunities of free citizens, and initiated us into the grand mass of legislative mechanism. In other words, this country, which you lead, President Washington, has granted us rights and privileges as free citizens. Washington liked their letter to him so much, he responded using some of the very same language. I rejoice that a spirit of liberality and philanthropy is much more prevalent than it formerly was among the enlightened nations of the earth, and that your brethren will benefit thereby in proportion as it shall become still more extensive. May the same wonder-working deity who long since delivering the Hebrews from their Egyptian oppressors and whose providential agency has lately been conspicuous in establishing these United States as an independent nation, still continue to water them with the dews of heaven. George Washington saw a parallel between the Jewish story and the American story. In the same way that God saved Israel from the tyranny of Pharaoh in Egypt, God saved America from the tyranny of England. The founding fathers did not try to hide or erase this connection. They praised it. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks presents another important connection between the Jewish story and the American story. America, like the Jewish people, is built on the idea of a covenantal society, a new society built by people who came together with explicit ideas of freedom and equality. John Winthrop even writes Moses into the Mayflower Compact and quotes his final address to the Israelites from Deuteronomy chapter 30, which we'll read on Yom Kippur morning. We are commanded this day to love the Lord our God and to love one another, to walk in God's ways and to keep God's commandments, that we may live and be multiplied. The Puritans saw themselves as the new Moses and new Israelites and embraced the idea of covenant. We must not overlook these early ideals which led the way to tolerance for the individual and the collective Jew in America. The American Jewish story helped develop the liberalism that allowed us so many freedoms and advancements. We know that the covenantal ideals of equality and freedom were not applied everywhere and to everyone as they should have been for half of our history. But the aspirational goals were there, and they sprang from Jewish ideals. Even if at times our country is challenged and stressed, we still have a Bill of Rights, checks and balances, laws that forbid a singular state religion, and these guarantee us unprecedented safety for the Jewish people. 100 years ago, if you would have told our relatives in Russia that there were pogroms in universities in the United States, they would not have been surprised. What else is new? But if you'd told them the American government called and admonished the university leaders in front of the whole world, and subsequently some of those leaders were fired, they would have been astonished. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, who died 3 years before Shabbat Shachor, the Black Shabbat of October 7th, wrote, "Anti-Zionism is the latest mutation of the world's longest hate, anti-Semitism." This does not surprise members of our diverse Temple Beth Am community who've come from Latin America and Europe and have experienced it in their own lives. But for many of us raised in America, we held tight to our bias that anti-Semitism only came from the other side. The left maintains that Jews are white and part of a privileged class, and therefore they are oppressors. They say Zionists are Jews who are oppressors in Israel, which was colonized by white Europeans. In the first argument, the left wants to eliminate the power and influence of the Jew. In the second argument, they want to eliminate the Jew altogether. The right maintains this conspiratorial theory that Jews control the world economy, and Jews want to destroy the white Christian nature of America. When it comes to Jews, there are a slew of contradictions still at work. We are hated because we are poor, and hated because we are rich. We are hated because we are communists, and hated because we are capitalists. We are hated because we keep to ourselves and our own communities and follow ancient traditions, and hated because we assimilate into secular societies in whichever country we live. The common denominator in all these contradictions is that we are hated. Today, our young people are being asked to divest themselves of their Jewish identity in order to maintain relationships with coworkers, friends, and even yoga teachers. These people claim to love them, but not in their entirety. They do not love their Jewish identity. They are loved only if they are willing to cut out of their lives 50% of the Jewish population, the Jews who live in Israel. There are Jews that have done this and taken up the call against Israel. Some even call themselves anti-Zionists. Yossi Klein Halevi explains that these are the Jews anti-Semites love. These are the Jews who can be their friends. To our young people, I say, you don't need to give up your Zionism, your culture, your language, your beliefs. You don't need to give up your mezuzah, the star or chai around your neck, the way you practice being Jewish, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. There is a story told about a woman who immigrated through Ellis Island. When she reached the immigration officer and he asked her for her name and identification, she told him that in Russia, her teacher said her name was too Jewish, and so her teacher changed her name to Sophia. But my real name is Sarah. Sarah is a beautiful name, said the officer. Here in America, you can be Sarah. There will always be haters. Some will be public, others hidden. There will always be supporters, those who embrace differences and mean it when they say, you belong here. Professor Jonathan Sarna shared a study published in E-Jewish Philanthropy that says, Jews increased their participation in Jewish activities post-October 7th. They described it as the surge. Nearly half the respondents expressed an interest in increasing their involvement in Jewish life. Almost 1/4 had actually participated in either a class, celebrated Shabbat, or taken up Jewish advocacy. On college campuses, there are more students active in Hillel. Enrollment is higher in Jewish summer camps and in Jewish day schools. Conversions to Judaism are up too, and I hear things like, now more than ever, I want to stand with the Jewish community as a Jew. Our numbers at Temple Beth Am also reflect this surge. Be clear, a surge towards Jewish life is not a retreat from the secular world. Rather, it is an embracing, a realignment with our foundational identity as Jews and Americans. It is not unusual that at times of disruption in the Jewish community, there will be a revival. At the same time, our survival instincts are heightened to protect and care for our people. We are rising to the challenges of anti-Semitism and fortifying our place in America as Jews. We are building allyships with our neighbors. Our Unbiased initiative has been a great success, bringing people together to better understand each other. And one of the highlights of our programming is our participation in a Muslim-Jewish dialogue. in a community of faith, in a country of freedom, we can share our lives. The curriculum for our 8th grade Monday Night High class is Jewish Immigration to America. There are 13 students in the class, and we figured out that their parents come from 11 different countries. All those parents chose to raise Jewish children here. For we still believe America is safer. We still believe there is opportunity to be productive and successful as Jewish Americans. We are becoming stronger, more dedicated, and more determined. We will not allow others to minimize, marginalize, or undermine our Jewish life. The golden age of American Jews will never end because we are not going anywhere. We belong here. Gamar Chatima Tova. Amen.